So moving abroad is not an easy feat. And if you're considering it and hesitating, you may want to know, well, why should I move abroad? What are the benefits besides the obvious ones? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you 9 reasons you should move abroad. Now, if you've already subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you have not yet, please consider doing so and clicking that notification bell so that each time I upload a video about living in France, moving abroad, or finding the confidence and courage to live life on your terms, you will be notified. My name is Patricia Brooks, and 4.5 years ago, I took the plunge and moved to the south of France from the United States. And I really wasn't sure what my life here in France would lead me to. I did not know that it would lead me to starting a business here. I did not know that it would lead me to having a YouTube channel, but it has. And so it's been an incredible experience. So in this video, I want to share with you 9 things that I gained from moving abroad and that many other people have, and that you might too. Now, the first one is kind of obvious, and that is different cultural experiences, exposure to a different culture. And this may seem obvious, but there are benefits that you may not be thinking about when it comes to that. So yeah, experiencing new foods and new ways of being, maybe even better ways of doing things that you hadn't even thought about. That is something you get from living in a new country. But in addition to that, you learn a lot about yourself and your values, in relationship to the culture or the cultural norms of where you're living. So I know for me, coming from the United States where things are open 24/7, it was really challenging for me to say, oh, 7:30, the grocery stores are closed. Okay. And having to adjust my schedule to fit in with that cultural difference. I've done it. I plan now. It's still not always that convenient, but this is what I've chosen and I'm good with it because I recognize that the reason that things aren't open all the time here is because the French value being able to spend time with family and friends. And if you're working all the time, you can't do that. So things like that you will learn and grow from because of the cultural differences. Along those lines, number 2 is I have gained an appreciation for people in the United States who are immigrants, whose native tongue is not English, and who are learning and speaking English, even when they speak it and it's not 100% grammatically correct. I know I was guilty of not outright saying anything to them, but in the back of my mind thinking, oh, why don't you speak grammatically correctly, right? I was, the judge inside my head was there. Well, of course, I had not had the experience of living in a foreign country that speaks a foreign language where I had to learn and navigate. And so I didn't really have any kind of perspective about that. And so it was so easy to judge and say, what's going on there? Why can't you speak the English language properly? It's not so easy, as I found out, learning to speak French. Now, I am fluent in French now. However, I make a ton of mistakes. I know it. Sometimes I catch myself, sometimes I don't. But the fact of the matter is it's not an easy thing. And so this has definitely given me appreciation for those people I worked with and judged silently for doing this really difficult thing. Number 3 is an appreciation for immigrants. Immigrants in the US, immigrants in France, where I am now, because I have this new perspective. I have this new appreciation for when I go into a doctor's office and they know that I'm a foreigner, but they have never been in my shoes, have never done this thing. And so can't fathom how difficult it is to go into a gynecologist's office and try to explain what's going on for you, right? And maybe not having the doctor slow down enough to kind of make sure that I am clear on exactly what's happening, right? So I feel like having had that experience, I have this greater appreciation for immigrants all over the world. And that really makes me a better person because I'm more empathetic. I can be more compassionate in that realm. And I think that's huge. That's huge, huge, huge awareness and growth, personal growth for me. And number 4 is perspective, a shift of perspective. And the things that I've already said kind of talk to that, but this is more around, oh, well, we've always done it this way in the United States, and it has to be the best way or the only way to do it. When you come to a foreign country, they do things differently. And maybe it's not better, but maybe it is. Also seeing how there is a possibility to do something differently and still get good results helps you to think outside the box, helps you to think outside the box when it comes to your hopes and your dreams, right? Maybe you had one way, you thought there was only one way to get to where you were going, but now your mind has been opened up and you can say, oh, wait a minute, how else could I approach this? How would the French approach this maybe, right? Huge, 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 huge wins. So those are 4 things that you will gain directly because you're going to be in a new culture and you're going to be learning and growing and becoming more open-minded. Of those, which one is the most interesting or appealing to you? Comment below. Moving on to number 5. Now, to make a move abroad, you have to have some degree of confidence in yourself. And I will say that my confidence was high at times and not so high at other times. And I will say I made the move. And when I got here, my confidence kind of plummeted because I had self-doubt that I really had made the right decision. But after that 18-month mark, after I bought my car, after I was living in a place that really felt right to me, my confidence soared, right? I started to look around and say, what else could I do? I moved to France. I've learned a new language. I'm driving in France. What else could I do, right? The sky's the limit. And that's a really good feeling, so the move abroad, living abroad does that in spades. Now, along with that, number 6 is a belief and trust. And now this belief is more than a belief in yourself or a trust in yourself. It is more about a belief or a trust in that things will work out for you. When I first got to France, I was here on a sabbatical, so I wasn't working. I was living off my savings, and I wasn't really sure how I was going to support myself long-term here. But I knew I just needed to be here, and so that's the path I took. Fast forward 3 years, I figured out that I wanted to help women who wanted to move abroad confidently have the support that they needed to do that. And so I started my coaching program and started a business here in France, and that is what I'm doing. Now, I did not know that that's what I would be doing when I first got here. I thought maybe I might find a job at a company. That really wasn't what I wanted to do, but that was what I was thinking. But, things worked out. The universe has put me on this path, and I've taken those steps, and I've seen what those next steps should be, and I have proceeded, and things are working out. So this number 6 is all about a belief and trust in that things will work out, that belief and trust in the universe and a higher power, whatever you want to call it. But after a while of being in a foreign country and not necessarily having a clear line of sight to how things are going to fall out and them working out, you gain this belief and trust. Huge, huge, because that allows you to kind of take a step forward, even though you don't know where it's going to lead. And when you can do that, then you can really start living life on your terms. Number 7 is developing more patience. I have not always been the most patient person, but here dealing with the administration and the administrative procedures that can be slow, I have gained some patience. It's not been easy, but I have now gotten to a point where I submit forms and I don't expect a response back for a couple of weeks, maybe even a month before I start to say, maybe I need to give them a nudge. Before it was like a couple of days, I had heard something, I was getting antsy, oh, maybe I should follow up. Now I just kind of let the process go. Now I do, keep my eyes on it. I do make sure that it doesn't get lost, but I am not overly concerned in those early days about, why haven't they responded yet? And so I think that is definitely growth for me. I think also in this area of patience comes with the language. So I started learning French maybe 2 or 3 years before I moved to France. And I was consistent with it, doing a lesson every day, visiting Quebec City, Canada to practice. I was doing that. And when I got here, I thought, oh yeah, my language skills are really pretty good. They weren't as good as I thought they were. I couldn't understand fast-spoken French. I couldn't think clearly because I was so far out of my element. I was scared a lot of times when I was out and about trying to communicate. And so I couldn't think of the right words, even though I knew them, right? That was a humbling experience, but it also made me take a French class to improve my French. And little by little, things changed. I was consistent in practicing. And one day I woke up, I turned on the TV and the news was on, and I understood everything they said. I didn't have to piece, a word here and a word there to try to understand what they were saying, because everything they said just kind of flowed smoothly. It was almost like they were speaking in English. I just understood. And that was, I was like, it happened. But it took several years to get to this place. And the same with being able to speak fluently. One day I'm having a conversation with my friend Jordi, and he's speaking, or we're talking, maybe 5 minutes go by, and all of a sudden the conversation is just flowing, right? I'm not thinking about what I want to say, and the words are coming out, we're communicating, and it's so much easier than it was. But it took time. And so this patience idea also helps me to know or understand that change, learning, all take time, effort, and repetition. That is the huge key for language learning. Number 8 is resourcefulness and resilience. They're two put together. When you are in a place where you've lived all your life and you know what the procedures are, you just go and do them. When you don't, you've got to figure that out. Maybe you ask people. You do your research online. You go in person with what you have, and you attempt to get something done. That's being resourceful. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. That's where the resilience comes in. Because, if first you don't succeed, try again. That bouncing back. And that resilience will serve you well in life. That resourcefulness of, I really don't know how this is supposed to go, but I can figure it out. I can find a way or make one. That takes you far. That helps you to be able to live the kind of life you want to, because oftentimes the life we want to live is a life we've never lived. All the time, it's a life we've never lived. And to get there, you're going to have to try something new. You're going to have to do something you've never done before. And to be able to say, okay, I don't know how, but I'll figure it out, and be confident in that, that's huge. And finally, number 9, I think maybe this might be the biggest thing that I've gained in moving abroad, is knowing myself better. Especially in that first year, but then also in this last year too, I have gone inward, right? I've gone inward that first year because I was isolated. I was alone. And so much like many of you with the pandemic, you got to spend a lot of time with yourself and your thoughts and what you wanted to experience, and how you wanted to experience life. And I feel like being away from what was normal, and all of the distractions that may come about from being in a place that is comfortable to you, you get to be with you, you get to sit with you, and you get to know you. So that was kind of like the first year. And my first year was this tug of war really for me, because I did have this strong self-doubt that, was it really so smart to quit my job? I don't know. Was it really so smart to move to a country where I knew no one? I'm not sure. But those thoughts came up, and knowing myself and getting to know myself, I knew that those feelings that those thoughts brought up in me was not how I wanted to spend my first year here in France. And so I did things to swat those thoughts away, did things to get out of my head and just do things so that I could experience France the way I wanted to, right? Now, a few years later, I am still learning about myself and what's important to me. I woke up one morning feeling that this life I have for myself here in France is now normal, right? I woke up, it's like, oh yeah, this is my life. This is not, I moved to France and this is kind of different. No, it's normal to me. And in that was this thought that, if I stay here long term, there's some things I'm going to be giving up, some things that I'm going to be missing about the United States, like central heating and air, not having to open up the window in the middle of winter in the morning to kind of air things out so condensation doesn't, accumulate inside the house, right? Things like that. Screens on windows, having a clothes dryer, and that garbage disposal that's so convenient so you don't have to put garbage in the trash. Yeah, I know I will be able to have a couple of those things when I buy my house that I'm planning on buying. But other of those things, I probably won't. And I have had to come to terms with the fact that living here and experiencing my life in this way is what I want to experience, regardless of if there are some inconveniences that, will probably irk me, but I'll deal with all the same just to be able to stay here. On the other hand, you may move abroad and will be a good experience for you because you will have the cultural experiences. You will grow in these ways, and you might get to know yourself much better and recognize that living abroad, or maybe even living in the country that you moved to, isn't the right country for you. And that's great understanding, because then you can pivot. Then you can say, it's not this country, I think it's this country. And then you can move to that one. Or you might say, living abroad for me in general is not for me. I'll travel, whatever, but I think I want to head back to my home country. And that is wonderful because you have learned about yourself. You have actually avoided having a regret that probably would haunt you to the end of your life if you had not taken that chance. So if you are considering making a move abroad, and if these ideas and these benefits, these reasons resonate with you, really consider taking steps to make it happen. Now, if you are uncertain or would like someone to bounce some ideas off of, well, then let's have a conversation. I'm going to put a link to my calendar in the description where we can talk about where you are, where you want to be, and if possibly working with me might help you get to where you want to be sooner. Now, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it insightful, give it a thumbs up. Please be sure to share with anybody you think it would be helpful for. And I will see you again next time. Bye for now.